Melanie Harris, and this is Fran Newberg. We're here from Philadelphia, and we're super happy to talk to you guys today. We want this to be an interactive conversation, so feel free to ask questions as we go along. Overall, we want to talk about what it means to collect or retire dashboards, what it means to have this scale of analytical data, and what do you do with it, and then the whole idea of how are you integrating, creating new roles. We have roles and titles that we've created in the last 2 years that we would have never thought existed, and we had a little, we took our time finding the right people for it, because these are new skill sets that you are trying to comb out and try to find.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about sort of our evolution, and again, we're talking here from the data and systems level, and I think all of us have experienced this or been a victim to it potentially, where everyone wants dashboards, analytics, more dashboards, and more. But we wanted to roll it back to, for us, about 15 years ago, where this was very rudimentary, and it's been built and continues to be built, that we have this employee portal so that teachers don't have a million logins. So 15 years ago, when we keep building, and I would say 3-4 years ago, we started to move to this concept of what are the adaptive programs that we are adopting in the district or in different schools. We are struggling between complete autonomy, every teacher does whatever they want, to complete lockstep, now hear this, do just what I say. So we're trying to find that balance, and for us the balance is a range of tools that you can choose from that are adaptive, and I will say that is, for some teachers, very welcomed, and for others, very scary, and a series of reading and math programs. I'll use the word programs because they're more than textbooks, and schools choose from that suite, and then we, I would say IT, then builds single sign-on solutions where the students are loaded, the teacher is attached, and it's there for you. Day one, you're not waiting 4, 6, 8 weeks to connect everyone. So that is kind of the beginning of our journey in terms of putting instructional resources at the hands of teachers and trying to ride that balance of full autonomy, you have to do exactly this. And we may move all the way to that other right side, but we're still in that space where schools, and it is at the principal level that makes a decision, but it's within I'll say within a constrained list of choices.
So as Fran said, luckily enough, 15 years ago, the team had the vision to create one-stop shopping for employees. We now have one-stop shopping for students, one-stop shopping for teachers. So we made a lot of progress from the systems end. We can go in and add the data, but from where you go and analyze the data, I'll say we're still here, okay? So you all know you go out, your student information system has a built-in analytics tool, your ERP has a built-in analytics tool, you could be using anything from AimsWeb that has its own analytics built in, and then your district may have went out and bought just a pure business intelligence data visualization tool that some division, either IT or your accountability division, wants to scrape all that data from all those systems and then create another layer of dashboards. So how do you make sense? You spent years culling data, and if you're like an IT head like I am, you want it like very focused, very streamlined, but you have a million requests for different data visualizations. And as Leilani said, if you're coming out of an environment where maybe everybody wasn't using the same data collection system, well then what are you displaying? So luckily, we've streamlined a lot of that while still trying to offer some autonomy, but now this is the stage we're in.
So you'll notice, and we would love questions, just interspersed, because we tried to take this topic and make it relevant, not knowing exactly the various people in the audience. So please ask questions. So you'll notice as we go through this presentation, a lot of the decision makers, stakeholders that are creating these various levels of dashboards and key performance indicators and what's at the parent, student, teacher level. So how do you make sense of it all? If you're a person that's involved in this decision making, who where's the ownership here? Who's helping drive what gets displayed? These are very important questions. Who's controlling the way these data views are displayed? Is it making sense for a teacher? Like, where does the teacher fit into all of this? And does it become overwhelming? If you're at the superintendent level or at that decision-making level, what's the purpose of your investment? Like, can you really say, why are we doing this? Why are we investing in a business intelligence tool? Why are we investing in other type of dashboarding and analytics tools? And what are the goals here? And what are the metrics that you want to display for your various constituents up and down the level, the field of your education space?
We spent a lot of time revisiting that last question, because you can say you know who your constituents are, and then you get into a whole other set of meetings and you kind of forget. So again, Fran was touching on the different audiences. So, we're in an era of transparency here in Philadelphia. We have a new board coming in. It's a board by the city, not under the state. So there's a lot of for external school board taxpayers, what are we doing to display data in a way that they can understand it and make sense of it, which is totally different than if you're displaying data at the staff level, at the teacher level, so that they can make sense of it, which is different from what the parents want to see so that they can actually help their students, which is absolutely different than we don't want to be in the weeds at the high level administration. So how do we make all these audiences happy with, probably most likely, I walked away from the idea that I was ever going to find one data analytics product. I really was there for a long time that I was going to find one, I was going to force everybody to it, and I realized that wasn't going to happen. And the best I could focus my efforts on was making sure the data that was represented across multiple systems was, one, as clean as possible, and then two, had the right business rules applied to it so that you were seeing consistency across, even though the lens was going to be a little different. And that's tricky. That is a tricky thing.
I will talk a little bit about the three big systems that are in Philadelphia, and maybe you can relate to this, or maybe you have more, maybe you have less. I mean, at the heart of it, we have a student information system, and we have teachers entering data, grade data. We have all of our roster data in the system. Our census, our secretaries, our clericals, point of entry, collecting all of that student demographic data. And can you see student names? Of course you can. This is, I would say, a transactional system. We're in our second year of it, actually. We had a student information system that was 18 years old. 30 years old. So it was an unbelievable system in like 2015.
I don't know if it was ever unbelievable. But
Unbelievably
it was pretty great back in 1989. It was launched in 89.
I guess I meant unbelievably poor in its ability to really collect sometimes what we needed and have any kind of visuals into data. So it was unbelievable in how old it was. I mean, It was crazy. So we've just I think we're like 18 months into this new implementation. So this is I would say it's the spine, the source system to collect everything. We've been a SchoolNet user for a very long time, ASP, when no one knew what ASP was 15 years ago. And this is really, I will say, a very teacher-facing system. It's instructional management, so it is our scope and sequence. Depending on where we are with our curriculum teams, there could be embedded links to notebook resources, interactive whiteboard resources, ideas to integrate technology embedded right into that curriculum so that you have consistency and choice, but it is not an LMS where students are the consumers of information, right? It's more teacher. There are dashboards there. There's formative assessments flow through this system. It's updated nightly. And then on top of all of it is we call them Click BAM dashboards. It's really an analytics tool. Initially, our superintendent wanted something for the cabinet level to look at point in time and compare where are we this month with attendance? Where were we last month, last year at this time? Where were we 2 years at this time, to track against certain goals and metrics? So initially that came in as really the cabinet level tool, but now our principals also have access. It's not at the student level. It's really to look at trends around some big key goals.
Oh, yes.
So stop, any questions, any like, that's crazy, or I have a crazier story. Can you connect to this? Are your school districts dashboarding, collecting data, displaying data?
And where in this stack is your kind of teacher's interface and teacher's ability for professional learning, or just for their own?
So it was in SchoolNet, and now we're moving to a full LMS for professional learning, and it will have the ability to plug and play courseware also. Definitely for educators, and I think the discussions are still like really at the infancy for teachers, but this is where teachers enter into via SchoolNet. And I will say that we are, in terms of students interacting with content, we do use online courses. I don't consider online courses to be an adaptive tool. It's a tool. Teacher still has to be very involved in working with students, personalizing. We also are at a place where, like in year 4 of a more strategic approach to adaptive resources within core content classrooms. Like when we started with adaptive course programs for students, it was a place you went to. You went to intervention. Now we're trying to shift this mindset that if you're buying an adaptive resource for students, it's in the core content classroom and teaching the teacher how to navigate small group instruction and rotating there. But for the teachers, SchoolNet. For students, I would say vetted and approved tools.
And then we focus on our tools that are teacher and student facing. Obviously, we have an ERP. We are in the middle of just starting a new ERP project that will come along with, of course, its own layer of data visualization, and that will look to feed into our click data visualization tool as well. But again, it's how do you decide when you enter in data, where do you need some data displays inside the system that you're entering it, maybe just to validate, your day-to-day attendance, day-to-day, grades being entered, versus when you're in SchoolNet, you're looking at the history of a child, you're pulling in reading assessments, you're pulling in our Ames web data, you're pulling in a lot of other tools, and then the teacher gets full service on a student, principal gets full service on their school, and then the ClickBAM is kind of like that middle ground where the principals and can look in both SchoolNet and Click. But I have to say we probably could do a better job communicating this. This is year 1 for that. I think this is just more, again, of the data that's displayed in SchoolNet so that you can just see we're sharing data, the same data in more than one system, because this is our historical view, the last 12 years of students. Infinite Campus is our forward view. We were lucky to have a historical view so that we didn't have to move over every piece of data over into Infinite Campus. This is just, as Fran was talking about, this is a SchoolNet dashboard at a very high level. Are we at the district level, Fran, or are we at a school level?
We're at the district level.
We're at the district level. So you could go into SchoolNet and you could see what attendance looks like. We do not do, we do present attending 95% of the time or more. We don't do average daily attendance. So they try to cut it and say, okay, did you, we think it's a tighter metric, because if you were to say 90% or more attending, you get 18 days absent out of 180 day school year. But if you were to look at students attending 95% or more, you need to have less than 9 days absent. So it's a tighter metric. And then our accountability department asked us to move it into smaller chunks to see all the way through. This would be something that an administrator could see, a principal could see, a teacher could see, and then if we set goals and targets, the colors would change. I'm gonna do, now here's as a comparison, here's what similar data looks like in our CLIP data visualization tools. There you see the year-over-year comparison. Here you see a network. Our schools are divided into, we call them networks, 13 networks, averaging about 20 schools a network. Philadelphia has about approximately 220 schools. So you see we have to look at them in smaller slices to really get a sense of what's going on. This is more relevant to drilling down to the teacher level. This may be more relevant at an administrative level.
I just met with, we were in Minnesota, I just met with the superintendent of Bemidji, my hometown, northern Minnesota, and they've lost a fifth of their audience already to charters and privates. You're losing over time. What do you guys think of that? Is it a population shift?
No. So, and I love that question. So Philadelphia, to give you some statistics, about a third of our students are in charter schools. So we would say about 60,000 students in charter schools as compared to about 132,000 in what we call traditional public schools.
And in PA, charter's still public, right? It's not, it doesn't set up a separate district.
Right,
like
it is still public, so that's why I say traditional public versus charter public, and then obviously you have the parochial or private school. So it has forced us to think differently. I feel some kind of way when we talk about like blowing up education or changing things, but it has definitely taught us to be more competitive about our students. Are we listening to our families? Why are we losing these students? So for example, for the first time ever, Philadelphia traditional public schools are going to open in August and not after Labor Day, because we see our charter schools open as early as the middle of August. And a lot of our families are like, hey, we want our kids in school, we're ready for them to go back to school, and they're going to go register for the first school that is open. So part of our strategy is to open earlier. We have, just from like the pure tactical side, we are more open to registration, later nights, all those things just to get the kid in.
Yeah.
Now, we know that safety and concern is an issue, or a perception, and perceptions are reality.
Yeah.
So we've put a lot of into different strategies around discipline or more collegial. I'm forgetting all the.
Well, I was going to talk about the reading initiative. Like if you go back one slide, we're really highlighting reading achievement, and you can see we have a long way to go. So in terms of this, how are we responding to this market change of being competitive for our students? We partner with William Penn Foundation. There's been a $10 million investment in early reading. That's like one response. And in positive behavior supports, like really working with schools to approach climate and culture in a completely different way. A lot of trauma-informed education for our teachers and our administrators. And I would like to think we would be doing this anyway, but we're also, I hear a lot of language of how do we intentionally recruit and keep our families? And it's culture and achievement.
Yeah.
Culture, achievement, and this opening earlier, being responsive. We have a question.
Are you starting to track opt-in and opt-out?
Of testing?
Why are you gaining kids and families? Why are you losing kids and families? And I'll use an example. So Miami-Dade has done a really aggressive job of capturing that information because there's so much movement with, on top schools and charter schools. I'm just curious more broadly, is that something you're starting to pay attention to and capture on an ongoing basis?
Yes. So one, and it's a nice segue to the data collection and visualization. So we were collecting data for a long time, but then when you went back to analyze it, was it granular enough to actually see those patterns? So when we launched our new student information system last year, we are lucky enough that our charter schools are on our systems. I found out many districts, charter schools by mandate, do not have to be on the district systems that are still pen and paper. We're very lucky that they agreed to do enrollment in our systems that does give us one central collection system to analyze the data. So we are fortunate. So we have a common set of enrollment codes, and we went back and revisited our exit codes. And then we said to our secretaries, because you know what? They're like, hey, that kid's gone. I'm just going to exit the kid out. I don't think I'm doing any harm by picking the first exit code that's there. But we said during our training of the system, the pieces that were not technical, but being very intentional. Is a child leaving because they're going to a charter school? Are they leaving because they are moving out of state? What is the reason? And then we can then marry that data with seeing them being enrolled at a charter school on the end, and then we can do some comparison to see if it was due to moving, if it was due to achievement. So for the first time in my 18 years with the district, we can heat map where our kids are going based on charter school or district school. We can look at academic trends. We actually have our own scorecard for district schools that charter schools are included in. We call it the school performance report. And then we also have the ACEs, which is a more granular level into the charter schools because they don't use the same elementary digital early literacy indicators that we do. So we are able to look at trends, why they're moving, retention
in district and charter schools.
Yeah, check to see, quite frankly, if the child is actually there. I'm not saying this happens all the time, but there are instances where we can see that they said a child was enrolled here, but we still say that they're enrolled over here. We can get to that level that we weren't able to get to before, not only with cleaner data collection, because if you've got better systems that collect it, then the data is cleaner, and then you can analyze it better. Just jump. That's just some SIS data. That's just a quick screenshot of the SIS. We're going on there. I didn't want to stop the questions. If there's any questions along those lines, they were great questions. But so again, we have to ask ourselves, because people are asking us, what is the purpose of these multi-million-dollar assessments? I kind of teased one of my colleagues the other day. They were doing a presentation for principals, and it said, here's why we have a student information system. Here's why we have SchoolNet. Here's why we have these click dashboards. Now, I'm going to show you how to import this into Excel and do a pivot table. And I said, oh my God. I said, you're going to get tomatoes thrown at you from the principals. You basically just said, multi-million-dollar system, multi-million-dollar system, multi-million-dollar system, Excel. And by the way, you're a principal, and we assume you know how to merge data and create pivot tables in all your spare time when you don't even have an assistant principal and there's one secretary for up to 1,500 kids. What is the message we are sending there? Why did we buy all these systems if we're saying, and they gave me a reason why, like, oh, well, if they want to analyze it, okay, I said for the 5 principals that want to do that, that's great, but make it really, really clear to the audience that you're speaking in that we strategically invested. These systems do different things. You need a student information system to collect that basic demographic, health data, grade book data. You need an instructional management system to present the curricular ideas and all, that's also where our benchmark testing is. And then to have some analytical tools that can pull in eventually facilities data, and outside systems outside of the student. But if we are not articulate, all people say is, oh my God, all you're doing is spending millions and millions of dollars. And to your point, people look at their own checkbook and say, wow, that sounds crazy. The systems does the grouping for our teachers so that they can then personalize the lessons there. It's not to the level of personalization that we were talking about earlier, but to the point that we really are trying to present data in a way that is meaningful for teachers, meaningful for coaches supporting teachers, meaningful for principals that are supporting, not in a way just to create a new fancy dashboard. It is meaningful.
Mel, I would interject because I know there's a lot of curriculum people in the audience, a lot of coaches in the audience. I think there's one person that's like kind of a performance officer. I would say, because I come from the curriculum teaching side, you need to be in the conversation. Someone that's a curriculum or teaching and learning person at the district level should be in the conversation, because it should be about, once you have these metrics, how does it help improve reading levels, math levels, attendance, climate? Because all we do is measure and then not move to how do we take action, how do we improve. To me, we're missing the mark. We're missing the mark, because all of this should help influence what a teacher does in some way. So I would encourage you, at whatever level you are or whoever you report up to, it really should be the teaching and learning team that is sitting with the analytics team to say, what is it that we should display? What is meaningful for a school leader? What is meaningful for a teacher? And I don't know if this happens, and I'm not saying it happens commonly, but you really don't want a team of researchers who are they're very important in our world. They really are. But they, in isolation, cannot develop dashboards alone. You need the teacher, the principal, administrator voice in it to say what would be meaningful for a teacher. And then next step is, and how do we react to that data at the teacher level, at the school level, at the district level?
To that point, what did your PD look like when you rolled it out this year for the first time? This is your first year for the
SIS.
teacher end of it?
Well, this is the first year for a student information system where teachers are using a new grade book. Teachers are using a new way to take attendance. Yes, that's new. New transactional system. How do we roll that out to 230
Yeah, like what does your
schools?
PD plan look like throughout this year to get the teachers in there using the product and using the tool?
So we asked schools to identify teacher leads at every school. We could not do direct delivery to every school. It just was not possible. So for the principal, really the principals got an overview because really principals interact with this system very little. They interact with the systems that push that where we visualize the data. But for secretaries, for teachers, we had, for teachers in particular, we had schools send anywhere from 1 to 5 people where we invested heavily in terms of time to train them. And when I say time, we trained them, we gave them all of the materials to take back with them to the school, including presentation, guidelines, steppers, printed it, packaged it for them, and then created videos for them. We created a whole website by module, by if I'm closing, if grades are closing, correcting attendance. So it looked like that.
Can you track the teachers going in to see
Yes.
if they're actually utilized?
Yes, we can, but we really look for, are you using the grade book in an ongoing way, or are you just putting your term grades in? Are you actually going in and taking attendance every day, or are you letting it default to whatever the default is? It's that kind of,
Okay.
but we can.
What's the parental access for those points?
Sure. So we actually just launched the parent portal component on March 12th. We did have a parent portal previously, so we were able to port over our existing users. I will say, so our board was worried about, one in Philadelphia. We have, it's poorest nation in the city, in the country, but one of our latest surveys showed that 81% of our parents have access to a smartphone. So at this point, we track the stats every single day. Hopefully by the end of the month, we'll hit around 17,000 parents or guardians that have access. And they can see everything from the tests, quizzes, assignments, up to final grades. We're turning on pieces slowly. They can set their messenger components, how they want to be contacted to. Eventually we'll turn on other pieces. But we do have, as I was telling our board, I said, we are in an age, no matter what age you are, young or old, we are in an age where society craves information. Our parents want to log online, they want to see their kids, they're fine with having a local version. So we've partnered with our Family and Community Engagement Office
And
to roll that out.
our students have access to
Oh,
their
yeah.
full profile. And now with this newest portal, if your school invested in some adaptive software,
Yeah.
the students have a link right there, access it anywhere, anytime, library, home, school. So they have what we call a launch pad. It's not only to data, but it's to any adopted instructional resources, be it like core reading and math or adaptive reading and math that is integrated into the core. Access.
So we now insist that all of our vendors have one roster, they're one roster compliant. If not, I would really appreciate our curriculum team. 2 years ago when we did an RFP for adaptive resources, it was the curriculum piece that came first, and then we had to see if we could make the technology piece work, and now they said no, technology cuts first. If it doesn't pass your standards, we don't even look at it. So, we say to the vendors, you might have a really high quality tool, but if you can't pass our integration standards, if you're not SAML compliant, one roster, we use CAS and OAuth, then you can't make it in the front door. So it's really great, and students have come to accept that, one username and password for all their tools.
Roughly what percentage of tools do you guys see come through your offices that are compliant in that regard?
So I don't know if I can do a percentage overall, but we just approved.
I will just say
1 to
that.
5 tools, 2
So here's what I will say, because again, we're riding that balance between about 10 years ago, complete autonomy, to we want some systems and structures. So we have about 14 adaptive tools approved. And I would say the core reading and math all comes with their own portals and digital, some adaptive, some not. So by and large, I would say the majority of schools are falling within those pathways. And now we set up a new process that if you want to live outside of that, you have to work with your principal and assistant superintendent and say why. What is it that this tool brings that's so unique? And if instructionally, the principal assistant sup says yes, then we look at it from a privacy standpoint, and we look at it from will it work within our network or require some special provisions and whitelisting. So if it works, then we do an LCA, and I would say I might have seen 20, 30 of that come across my desk last year, which in the size of our district is not much.